Hey, everybody. Thanks for tuning in today. Fun show today. Johnny Otto, an artist that caught my eye. I read about you, and then I started looking at your stuff, and I thought, man, he's a lot like Keith Haring. It's really cool stuff. And I got all excited. The more I read about you, I thought, I got to get this guy on. So thanks for coming on and talking about the journey of an artist, because you're not really up and coming anymore. You're up. I mean,
well, you're always trying to do more and more, you know.
Yeah, yeah. Can we hear him okay? Is the mic all right on him? Yeah. Tell me a little bit about...
Before we get into everything...
What?
I brought you a present.
I hope it's one of those Keith Haring paintings that you... No, you didn't. You actually made... Whoa. I'm speechless.
I don't know if you can see it or not.
Wait, that's for me?
It's I did a series of sketches. I usually do a sketch first before I do a painting. So this is ink on paper and then colored pencil.
I'm speechless.
There's only 16 of them, and they're all different. It's from a coloring book that I did.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm really speechless. Thank you. Did you have to do that to me? Because I'm really speechless. Thank you. When anybody gives me anything, I'm speechless. But this in particular, this is going right in my office downstairs, Kaylee.
Nice.
I'm really serious, and I'm going to take a picture and show you exactly. Oh, thank you so much.
Of
Can I have you sign the back somehow?
Yeah, of course.
Or
when we're done, I'll take care of it.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. Anyway, so now how do I follow
don't
that
break
up? Can we just end the show? Anyway, but you see all the influences from Keith Haring in this. That's what's really amazing.
I get that a lot. My stuff was even...
It's got a glare. All right. Here. We'll do it later. Okay.
My stuff was even simpler when I started, a lot, even more like Keith Haring's simple line drawings.
Well, like a lot of people, you started, I mean, geez, we just got back from Barcelona, I was telling you. And I've been a Picasso fan my whole life. And one of my favorite Picasso museums, and there's a lot of them, by the way, they're all over Spain and elsewhere.
He did a lot of work in his life.
A lot.
Yeah.
But he also started with the little lines, you know what I mean? And it's amazing just the evolution of the artist. And that goes for you. So you said when you started out,
I started off just doing really simple line stuff. I couldn't do anything else. My brother was a really great artist, and he could draw anything. And I felt that I was kind of limited to this more simple form of drawing.
So you were that kid in preschool who just did the line, and then the mother would pop up and go, oh my God, this is like a masterpiece. That was me. I still have all those lines.
I would just doodle in class because I was bored. I'd sit at the back and like doodle in my notebooks instead of making notes about whatever the teacher was talking about.
Hang on. Kurt just put up some of your artwork. Is that from a recent exhibit that you had?
Yeah, I just had an exhibit at Radiant Space in Hollywood.
Wow.
That's about 4 feet by 5 feet. So they're big pieces.
How did you do with the, oh, wow.
It was great. It was a fundraiser for my friend's charity, Drop in the Bucket.
Tell us about Drop in the Bucket.
It was started by John Travis, who was a music producer back in the day. He produced and mixed a lot of well-known artists, but he gave it all up just to focus on his charity, which really inspired me. So I was like, what can I do to help?
But tell me, what is this charity do?
Oh, Drop in the Bucket, they go to Africa, and they dig wells for schools, and they build sanitation systems. They help with education for girls in Africa. Because most of the days would be spent looking for clean water, they wouldn't have any time to go to school. So now that they don't have to do that, they can go to school. So it's a big deal. It's completely transformed the whole landscape for these refugees in Africa. And there's like 400,000 of them or something like that in this one camp.
You're kidding. And where are they all coming from?
War zones in across Africa. You know, there's a lot of wars going on.
Sometimes when I think of the intense amount of suffering out there and just what people have to deal with on a daily basis, like water, they can't even, fresh, clean water.
Such a simple thing, yeah.
I almost feel guilty living here sometimes. I really do. And I shouldn't. You know, we're all doing our part.
You are where you are, and you just have to make the best of it.
But there's a little part of that where I think, geez, can we all do a little more? Governments, you know.
Especially the government needs to step up, because it seems to be a lot of private funding, charities doing work and trying to raise funds.
And thank God for that.
But they're doing really good work over there, and so I was impressed with that, and I wanted to help out any way I could. And this is what I do. I do art, so...
So a certain percentage of the proceeds went to benefit that.
Yeah.
Wow. So let's get back to your one-line drawings. How old were you when you were doing that? Like
when just a kid. My dad took me to the Detroit Institute of Arts when we were 9 or 10 or something like
Your
that.
dad was a physician,
Right.
and he had his practice in Detroit.
In Detroit.
Even though you grew up in Canada, it was just right over the bridge.
Right.
Drove right over.
Yeah.
A lot of people don't realize that. They're like,
There's
what?
also a tunnel.
Yeah, that's
which
what
is,
I meant. Yeah. You
There's
just-
both. Yeah.
Yeah, you just drive right over, and then he would take you to the museum, and it's a really sort of an kind of moment, right?
It was odd because he's going to a different country to work every day.
Right. But I mean, when he would take you to the museum, it must have been like, wow.
Oh, it was a shock because he had a lot of art books, but I had never been in like a real, like the Detroit Institute of Arts is amazing. They have
It's
they have
stunning.
they have Van Goghs. They have the Finker statue out front. One of them. There's a few of them. But
So you went to the museum as a little kid. You were 10 years old, and what inspired you the most?
the African art, because I had never seen it in books or even heard about it, and there was all these sculptures and stuff and masks made out of wood. It was all like, it kind of seemed like it was alive, a little bit creepy but interesting and mysterious.
No, and I've been to Africa, and I've seen painting on wood, and I've seen residents there paint on wood. So I bought a few pieces, but they were smaller and they were not in a museum.
Well,
but,
that's all they had to work with was wood. So they couldn't,
that's right.
They couldn't make clay. They didn't have paints and canvases and things like that. They had wood, so they would carve things out of wood, and most of it was ceremonial or had some kind of mystical meaning for them.
Wow, the artistic expression is just amazing, right? You can't hold it down, no matter where you're from and the money you have for supplies. If you don't have it, you'll get some wood and you'll figure out a way to paint on
whatever
it.
you have, just work with that.
That's really amazing. So that had a big impression on you.
Yeah.
And then when did you start painting?
Well, I started drawing right after that. Like I said, that's when I was in school. I was bored a lot. I would sit at the back of the class and doodle, and it just kind of evolved from there. When I got into college of the University of Windsor, I started doing art shows, and then moved out to Los Angeles in 1990, and did some street art stuff, did art shows in more underground venues. It was hard. It's still hard getting into bigger galleries and things like that.
Yeah, but you've been getting a lot of press for your work. I mean, how did that happen where something just sort of turned?
Well, you have to hustle. Like, I hustle every day. I wake up and I'm like, whether it's like you talked earlier about social media and stuff like that, you have to get on all that stuff. You have to write to people. You have to.
That's how we connected.
Yeah.
I mean, I saw your stuff, and I think you contacted me, or I don't know. And then
you have to be your own PR person, and you have to wear a lot of hats as an artist. You can't just stay in your cave painting and then not do anything. Do you know what I mean?
Oh, I know what you mean very well, because I really understand the artist's brain. And sometimes if you only have that artist's brain, it's very difficult to get your stuff out there.
Yeah.
So you got to almost force yourself.
You have to train
out.
yourself to do it.
Train yourself
Yeah.
to do it. But again, what was the turning point where you started to get some articles written about you? And aside from the fact that this is very reminiscent of some. But on your own take on it, of some artists who've done quite well.
I get people say Basquiat a lot.
Yes.
Keith Haring. But like I said, it's based on African art. So maybe they were influenced by that primitive artwork as well. Do you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
It comes from the same place, I think.
I don't even know if it's primitive.
It's
To
like
me,
innocent.
I was going to say,
yeah.
to me, it's like art from the heart.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's really art from the heart, because there's not, they do what they can with what they have. So,
Well, I'll tell you, like when I was probably the same age or maybe even younger, I was drawing in a coloring book, like coloring in, and my grandmother came over and she slapped my wrist because I was coloring outside of the lines. And
that was the way,
I was
though.
like,
You had to always be in the lines. You had to color in the lines.
Yeah.
You had to go to school and make sure that you were good at everything, just
Right.
like Johnny and Susie next to you.
Right.
I do think that's finally starting to change a little bit, because, if you think about America as a melting pot, we kind of really weren't. Everything was just sort of done one way, and cultures from around the world didn't really even quite coming in and assimilating here until recently, the past couple of decades. So now that we understand art and culture from other places, and that people travel,
So everybody's you go through the same educational system when you're a kid, and so everybody's taught the same way, even if your brain works differently. And I definitely knew my brain was working differently from everybody else. Do you know what I mean? I definitely,
I know what you mean. Believe me, I know what you mean.
I didn't want to be taking shop classes and learning about math and stuff like that. I wanted to be an artist, and I kind of knew it very young.
And again, Dad being a physician, but he seems to have been very supportive of this.
He was a big fan of the arts, filmmaking, art, things like that. He would take me to see these big films by like David Lean and stuff like that, and just really into filmmaking. And so I grew up with that around. We would do little film screenings in my basement where we would get a projector from the library and get like those old cartoons like Heckle and Jekyll. And
wow. It's amazing. And I think I said this to you, just the influence that every little thing has on a kid. And then eventually one or two things will just stick.
Oh, yeah. That's why your early education is important. Like they say the first 5 years is where you learn everything, whether it's emotional influence from your parents or your education in school. We all skipped kindergarten, by the way, and were homeschooled when we were younger. My dad.
I believe in that. If I had had the patience, I would have done it.
I don't know how my parents had the patience, but there's 6 kids in our family.
Whoa. You're one of 6?
Uh-huh.
Wow. And you said your brother is a very good artist as well.
He's talented. His stuff is more like poppy, cartoony stuff. He grew up collecting comic books and stuff. So.
Was Mom an artist?
No. Mom was a church lady. Played organ in a choir at church.
Wow. Mom was the church lady. 6 kids. Wow. And Dad was a doctor. But 2 of you ended up as an artist. So
yeah.
And this really was your first exhibit in so many years. It was solo.
It's my first solo one in 13 years. I did a bunch of group shows. Last year I did Jeff Hamilton's Street Art Fair, which was 40 of the top artists in L.A.
Oh, great.
So I was part of that.
And where was that?
That was downtown. Jeff has a massive studio.
He's incredible. I mean, you just mentioned his name, and he's so well regarded.
Yeah, he's just he's a madman. I don't know how he has time to do everything that he does. Like, you know, he makes clothing. He does all this art.
Art is so subjective, though. You know what I mean? And how does an artist, in your opinion, become hot?
You know, first you have to have your people who just like what you do.
Yeah.
It starts, I think, just with a small group of people who just really dig your work. And then it's the hustle to get your name out. There's a lot of artists that are amazing and nobody's ever heard of them because they don't have the hustle. Do you know, they don't believe in themselves enough.
There's no doubt about it. What about the street fair, or like, you know, like where we live in L.A.? There's always an art fair somewhere.
That's a good way. It's expensive though.
I know it's a lot of money. People don't realize that. Like the really well-known ones.
Yeah, like Miami Basel just happened.
Okay, who does not love? That's amazing.
But to be in it is going to bankrupt you as an artist.
Cost?
I don't know, like thousands and thousands of dollars to have a booth. You know.
But you have to be asked, right? Or can you just get a booth?
I think you can just rent a booth. But they're mostly rented by big galleries who have a lot of money to spend. If you're like an independent artist like myself, you know. Could
you group with a couple of other independent artists and get yourself a booth and just show, you know, you have Monday, the next guy has Tuesday, something like that?
I suppose you could. I never
would think it's
looked
worth
into
doing
it
that
deeply because I don't like the atmosphere.
Yeah, I know.
It seems like a big country fair, but with art, you know.
You should try it one year and just group with people and see if it would have any benefit. I know a lot of people who go and come back with artwork from artists they haven't heard of.
Yeah, that's true.
They're not really interested in the gallery stuff that they could buy somewhere, but they really are interested in some work that they'd never heard of before.
I'm kind of an outsider, so I see myself as someone who'd rather disrupt the fair than be part of it.
Oh, I love that.
So that's kind of what I'm planning something for the LA Art Fair, which is coming up in January.
Now, you're not going to disrupt that.
I'm going to try.
No, what are you doing?
I don't know. I'm still thinking about it.
Oh, but what are you going to, you know, by the way, your artwork is huge. You need a big space to show your stuff.
I'll just do some walls. I like big walls, you know.
Yeah.
Like when I did Jeff Hamilton's thing, it was a 10-foot tall wall, 10 feet by 15 feet.
How long does it take to do one of your works?
Depends. Some of them I paint over. If you look at them, you can see the painting that's underneath of it.
Yeah, like you do the X-ray on the Da Vinci painting. I studied art history in school.
Oh, yeah, so there's layers to them, some of them.
I was always, like, fascinated that they would, I don't know, draw over their stuff or paint over it. I'm like, no!
Sometimes you just do it because you don't have another canvas to paint on.
I'm sure.
And you need to paint.
Oh, I'm absolutely certain of that, right? You know,
yeah.
Wow.
So
wait, what's the next fair that you're going to be in?
I'm not going to be in it. It's in January. It's downtown at the convention center.
So you're not going to be part of that?
Well, I'm going to be part of it. I'm not going to be in it.
So you're going to do your own street art, let's just say.
Yeah, I'm going to do something around that area, you know.
So what would you do? Like wheel your art around or something?
No, just some street art and things like that. Wow. I do these things where in Hollywood, I'll hang my pieces, like I do pieces on cardboard.
Yeah.
And I'll hang them from trees or fences and in weird places. Then I'll leave clues on my Instagram so people can go out and find it.
Has that benefited you?
Yeah.
Well, you know, somebody like me is always interested in something like that because I'm just that way. And I'd be like, whoa, what's this? And I would go look you up.
It's not always a benefit to me, though. It's like I want people to have my art, and sometimes it's an interesting way to get it to people. Do you know what I mean? Like,
I do know what you mean. I really, truly get it.
Yeah.
So how many years have you been doing this?
Well, as far as galleries and stuff like that, since the early 90s.
Now, you make money doing this, but you also need to do other stuff to make money. What else do you do?
I do photography for actors and models. I do that a lot. I have a regular people job.
Yeah, that's what I mean. What's
Human
your regular
job.
people
My
job? What's your human job? Your non-artist job. What's your human job?
My human job is working for a company called Committed, and they have a few different restaurants and bars in LA.
Right. So you're like, what are you? Are you a bouncer?
Doorman.
Or what are you? Doorman.
Yeah.
Like you're the guy who's there at the front, either letting me in or not letting me in. Are you
Usually
that
just
guy?
let you in. Yeah. You seem nice.
Yeah, but you know how many times people have stood outside and they're waving like, please
it's not
let
like
me
that.
in.
Their places are like small little bars. You know?
Oh, they are.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're not snooty.
I mean, that's the journey of the artist, right? I mean, do you see yourself just always doing this, or what do you want to have happen?
No, my goal for like the next year is to just be doing my art full time. I don't need a lot to be able to do that, and exist in Hollywood.
I think you're on the verge of getting really, really recognized, like in a big way. Like I'm going to go to LACMA one day, and you're going to be right there. Is that a goal of yours?
Museums, of course. Yeah. Because then you're with your art's going to be preserved.
So to do that, do you have to have a rep, or can somebody just find you and then?
They usually come after you have a name and.
Do you have a rep, or do you do it yourself?
I'm my rep.
But does it help to have like an artist rep?
Oh, for sure.
Gosh, but when I was living in New York, a friend of mine was dating an artist rep. I'm like, what is that?
It's like a manager.
Like an agent.
Yeah.
It's an agent. Does that help to have something?
I'm sure it does. It's probably something I'll have to eventually have because it's just a lot of work.
What galleries in LA have you been associated with?
Well, I did Radiant Space was the last one.
It was just huge.
It's a really intimate little space on Sierra Bonita and Sunset. And they do a lot of different things. They do installations, they do plays, they do film screenings, they do dance stuff, they do music nights, and then they do art shows all the time. And Peter Mars was just there, and he's a big pop artist from Chicago.
Huge, yeah.
So
you're in good company.
Yeah, and I'm trying to just keep, like I said, you got to keep pushing every day to get out there,
Do you have a favorite piece that you've done?
One of the ones that you showed earlier was the
Can we go through
Fire Tribe.
Let's go through them. God, they're just beautiful.
Thank you. That one.
That is
beautiful. It looks like candy. It's like really bright and I don't know. It's just it's one of the ones of mine that turned out exactly how I wanted it to.
Is it just I don't know, painting, or do you have a real like, hey, look, this is a guy, this is a girl. Like, what is that about?
It's about people searching for freedom. Like
really?
Dance, and if you see them, there's a lot of movement in my paint. They're not just the simple lines that I used to do. There's like a lot of vibrations outside of the lines, almost like
I see that.
Almost like they're moving around.
You almost had to tell me that, but I see that. I see people dancing. I see them moving.
I always listen to music when I'm painting, so I'll listen to like late 50s jazz or punk rock or something that is really exciting.
Yeah, I imagine it
comes out
inspires you.
in the paint. Yeah,
it's kind of like an athlete listening to music before they.
Yeah, or when you're working out, you like want to listen to really energetic music.
Wow.
So,
what's the theme that a lot of your artwork tends to have?
Well, that thing that started when I was young, and my grandmother hitting me and telling me to stay inside the lines. I was like, no, I'm not going to. I want to be free. Do you know what I mean? I want to be a free artist. I don't want to be one that's trapped inside of the lines. I'm actually writing a book called Outside the Lines.
Oh, you are?
Yeah.
When is that going to come out?
Whenever I'm done.
Once again, Kaylee's over there laughing. She gets it too. She's another artist, if you will.
I hope in the next year or so, maybe sooner. I collaborated on my last show. This young poet came in, and he was in there every day writing about my work.
Oh, cool.
And so I want to incorporate some of his poetry in the book. And I'm also doing, because of my film background, a short documentary about the last couple of years. So that's ongoing, you know.
Yeah, it's the artist's way. I mean, you know, you're a filmmaker, as you said. You're a writer. You're an artist, a painter. So it's not just one genre. So I really appreciate you coming in.
Yeah.
How can people find you and your work?
On Instagram, it's Ottophobia, O-T-T-O-phobia, P-H-O.
Ottophobia.
Yeah.
Okay.
Just Google Johnny Otto, I think will help.
And where can we see you next? Where can they actually go and see it? Because it's great to look at it on, you know, a phone or computer, but it's really great to stand in front of it.
My studio is in Hollywood, and if people want to come by my studio anytime, they're welcome.
And they could just direct message you, right?
Yeah.
That's easy.
Also, I'm planning a show for spring, another fundraiser. I'm not sure who I'm going to join up with yet, but
I'd love to attend that because I'd love to see the larger pieces on display at an actual
they're
show.
really big, and like Mia, the girl who was the gallery director at Radiant Space, she came over, and they were almost as big as her.
Wow. Yeah, that's very exciting. So you got a lot of good stuff coming up. I'm telling you, you're on the verge of, you know, being at the tip of everyone's tongue. So, Johnny Otto, thanks a lot for being here.
Thank you so much. Wow, I hope you enjoyed it. I would probably try and reframe it with a bigger frame.
Do you have this? I don't know if I'd reframe it because you gave it to me this way.
Cool.
I'm one of those people.
I'll sign it for you.
Yeah, I'm one of those people. You gave it to me this way.
The original thing is signed, but if you want me to sign the back, I'll do that.
I would. Maybe even a piece of paper, and I'll put it on the back of it, and I can just, you know, do that. So can we show this again as we leave? Yeah.
It doesn't really have a title. They're just like
I'm going to title it Me.
Okay.
I'm going to say that it's me.
Cool.
So, wow, really cool. Wow. Anyway, everybody, thank you so much for being here. Deborah Kobylt Live, Johnny Otto, and Ottophobia? Otto, right? That's how they can find you. Okay. And Instagram. Do you have a website?
Ottophobia.com.
Ottophobia.com. Okay. Thanks a lot, everybody. And we will see you next time. Please look this up. I think it's incredible. Thank you.
Thank you.